It's tough.
Whatever.
It's one of those comments. The big cities. Oh, for sure.
Hey, be right.
Yeah. But,
You don't have to, I mean.
I don't mind it as much from people that are here frequently, that's fine. The ones that come on the one day and they say that. Okay,
I do kind of.
so we want to go through the whole process. You wanna understand that concept. Yeah, the building. And then the advisory committees. They go around both sides. Absolutely. They get to the same spot, or maybe they come up with something that I haven't. Either one of them is a win, because either A, they're educated, and you're thinking and out and talking, or B, they come up with a great idea. It's like, awesome, that's another do it. Yeah, you don't do it. Yeah. There's like other things for you. Sometimes you take a. 2 days. He's here. They seem to be 1.5. Two that are a little bit of, I think as the months go along, you start to see a little more, but it's more of a person. That is. So it's not, I think everyone is all, like, I mean, committee out. So everyone's coming in from, we don't want anything big, so there's not much to fight.
It's, you gotta remember, you gotta start with the 1% market and 1% market.
They're coming out of that with
To get there.
something like, hey, we gotta do something. That's okay. Huh.
Maybe she's a no-show.
I don't know.
And you know when you see it.
Well, if we went over about 6 o'clock.
You know.
But anyhow, so
Real fact.
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, hey, instead of worrying about this building, I said, you should find some, make a decision on some land. Oh, you know, we have to read the bylaws. I don't think we can. No, you can't make a decision, but you can make a recommendation.
Right.
He goes, oh.
Really? From the.
I'm not so sure that his language change in the public works makes so much difference.
Yeah. The intent and the concept. Oh, Chester didn't show up like seven.
Just for those that are, if anybody's watching on the live stream, our staff member that is running behind will be here in a minute and we'll get going in probably 3 or 4 minutes. So stand by.
That's better than the color rush they had a couple of years back.
Oh, they'll do that too.
When it was just like
Yeah.
real bright color.
Peter left, didn't he?
Peter split.
He did.
Yeah. Grab a chair.
Yeah.
Front row.
Come on up. We all call to order our work session here tonight. Thank you for those who are online and waiting. We are 6 minutes behind, but that's fine. We're ready to start. So good evening, Liza, and welcome. I'm glad you made it safe. We're worried about you for a minute. If you don't mind holding that square button down until the green light comes, there you go. You're good. Oh, we got a microphone. So Liza, you're here to give us an update on a recruiting process.
Yes. So really exciting. As of this afternoon, you now have 23 applications. Now it doesn't close until midnight tonight. We may get one before midnight, but I doubt that. Usually I see a lot of action about that weekend right before the posting. So I'm assuming we'll be at 23 tomorrow. But I think this is a really great discussion for us to have. As most of you know, we've had this very similar conversation during our last search, and that was really just to learn about what your community is all about, the organization, what you're looking for in your next administrator, what projects, priorities that you had coming down the pipeline, because that helped me not only establish the advertising materials, but it also helped me in talking to potential candidates to inform them this is not a community that wants development. You know, they love and preserve what they've got here. So I think that helps a lot, because that conversation helped alone a lot, because it either dissuaded people from applying, that they knew it wasn't going to be a good fit for them, but it also just helps me too in screening the application. So that was my third point I was going to make, is that these discussions help me with that as well. So those are still the advertising points that we used in in the profile that we use this go around. But I think this is still a really great conversation to have at this point, because as I mentioned, tomorrow I'll be screening the applications, and it'll just be great to hear from each of you. What is it that you're looking for, so that we're all on the same page? The next step then will be for me to send you all an email after I screen all the applications, just to let you know what that process looked like, how many applicants I'm pushing forward as semifinalists. Those semifinalists will then complete video interviews, work personality index examination, and then they answer an information disclosure question. So if there's anything potentially that comes up in their background, I'd like to know about it now versus at the back end of this process. So that's the long and short of it. I know that I did forward the discussion guide, so we can use it roughly as just a guide for our discussion today, or, I'm great note taker, so I can take notes
Did we get
wherever
the
this
discussion
conversation
guide?
goes.
In the.
Packet. In the meeting?
Should be, I can make some copies too.
Nope, I just didn't pull, I didn't know we had a packet for this one.
Oh, yeah. I even got into it, Bill.
What the hell?
Everybody's got it open?
That is okay.
I got it right here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Does anybody need a printed copy? You guys good?
fine with it.
I'll be fine with it if my screen refreshes.
So we can start at the top, and if you want to skip some of these questions, let me know that as well. But just one of the basic questions I like to start with when I get to know any organization I'm going to be representing is, how do you describe this community that you know and love to those that maybe aren't familiar with it? And I even also turn that into when you're on vacation, somebody says, "Where are you from?" And you say Credit River, and they're like, "Where's that?" And what do you, how would you describe Credit River, I guess?
Depends on if they're from Minnesota, and you can say, or that space between Lakeville and Prior Lake.
Yeah, exactly. You're driving out of the city and it stops.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
You'd be on the tractor when you get the one finger wave all the time. Oh,
I'd say we're a rural community. Relatively affluent,
Say it's rural though.
open space developments with very little commercial or industrial. You wouldn't say it's rural?
It's not rural. I mean, rural has rural character, but it's not rural. I
Anything
mean,
that's not a city to me is rural. If we don't, I mean,
but when there's 4 Targets, 4 Cub Foods, a Walmart, and a half a dozen fast food restaurants within 5 minutes of almost anywhere in here.
but that's not our city. That's outside of our city. I was trying to explain what is our.
I get it. That's why I think there's a difference between being rural and rural character.
Rural.
Because rural is like Webster is rural. Yeah, I mean, you have to take a cooler when you go grocery shopping because your food defrosts before you get home.
Did you understand though what I mean?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. Right. And we can keep coming back to that question if something strikes you, but when you think again of this community that you know and love and serve, what are you most proud of or like about what's going on in the community?
What I like is everything I just said. That's why I moved here and built my home. I like the fact that, in my opinion, it's rural inside Credit River and that it's a 5 to 10 minute drive to go and do whatever you got to do. I like the fact that we have relatively lower taxes. Could be lower, but we don't have a lot of demands from residents to build a whole bunch of stuff. These majority, I'm generalizing. There's some people that would like that, and in my opinion, it's more of an older population where we don't like to change. And that might be more of a bias.
If you're honest about it.
I think the key is open space, but close to the cities.
Mhm.
Having everything close, but we don't have to pay for it.
Right. Mhm.
I think when you say what am I most proud of, I think I'm proud that we were able to take our community that was a township at risk of annexation, incorporate as a city and continue to progress in building out this organization.
Yeah, you now have control.
Mhm.
Mhm.
think what I'm proud of that you pretty much know everybody. In the city, anyhow, so. Like,
It is a nice mix between those who grew up here and those who have recently moved in,
mhm,
right? I mean. You think
It's
about,
large enough, you don't know everybody, if you want to
yeah,
not know everyone.
yeah,
of almost 6,000 people, it's yeah, impossible to know everybody, but. Good share of them, easy.
Mhm. I think I remember from my last time being here that I don't necessarily have like a town festival, but each of your neighborhoods seem to do a really good job of having some type of social, um, get together, whether it's a national night out or a variation of, or just a picnic and get to know you type event. But I thought
Yeah.
that makes you guys unique.
we started doing them. There's like four parks. We've gone to each of those now
As a council,
as a council, yeah.
official neighborhood meetings,
Mhm.
which we should have put those on our calendar.
Which,
We'll have to amend our calendar.
yep, which all the residents really enjoyed.
All right, so on the flip side of that, maybe where have been some challenges or some hiccups along the way that you've seen over the years, or even just recently?
Staff, we had a pretty rough staff year.
Yeah.
One passing away, one moving on. I mean, some pretty big
Kinda-
gaps and,
Two moving on with good Karen,
yeah. So, I mean, there's some pretty good gaps that we gotta shore up.
Yeah. Just contract, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that is top of the list of the rough things that happened over the last year was the staff.
One I could offer.
Yeah.
Just as an observation, one challenge. If it's. There is the dynamic of the rural, that's the wrong term. Development, non-development. Parameters, I mean, what is. And as the city has its vision committee. And how are those things applied, so. Developing that vision, that's people can get behind, what does that mean? I don't know, does that seem fair? I mean, I think.
Yeah, it's hard when we're somewhat split to the north, to the south.
Right, but it's a challenge you guys have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that
Absolutely.
it's going to be. Phrasing it well, but I think that's a challenge before you.
All right, with that being said, what would be your vision for this community and this organization when you look out 10, 20, 30 years from now? And maybe you're not sitting at this table, but what would you like to see?
I'd like to see preserving what we have to the best of it we can, keeping Met Council out of our city to the best that we can. That's what I'd like to see. Minimal staff, minimal infrastructure, just enough to get by. Use third-party services as long as possible before we have to hire in-house, because it's typically cheaper to do it. Use outside. And we're working on a vision right now with a citizen advisory committee. So if you ask in a month or so, we'll have a better answer for you, what our residents want. Have we shared? Well, no, forget it. We had a non-sanctioned survey that went out a year ago.
Yeah.
But I don't want to share that with you because it's not city sanctioned.
I think I heard a piece of it when I was here
Okay.
last.
I think vision wise, it's important for planning ahead, fiscally planning, take fiscal controls over policies over capital funding and you know, trying again to, you know, try to keep that level tax rate of, you know, as much as possible, try to stay out of debt and accomplishing this, still accomplishing the needs, but you know, in a more fiscally productive way that doesn't give us spikes in our tax rates.
Right. Take more of a proactive approach
Correct.
as far as your financial planning.
Yep. And, you know, being ready for, as we know, that growth is gonna happen. There's, you know, land on the edges of, you know, that's gonna happen, but being prepared for it
Mhm.
instead of waiting to be reactive.
You guys?
I think just how you balance the growth with the desire to stay the way we are with its outside forces and with development. I think that's gonna be really key for this organization. And to do it in a way that's thought out. From a planning perspective, but then still adhere to what we want to be, which is not like Savage and not like Lakeville and not like Prior Lake. So it's an interesting balance that this has to take in consideration.
And quite unique too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it takes forethought, plan. Yeah, you can't sit back and wait for. Can't wait for an application to come in before you decide to do something about it.
Mhm. Okay. Right. Your next administrator, what is it experience wise, work personality traits wise, education, if you want to speak to that? What is it that you're looking for in your next administrator that it would ensure that they're the right fit here within the organization, but also within your community?
I think important that. Strong leadership qualities, but is collaborative. And not a lead from the top leader. But a, you know, lead from the bottom up. With collaboration of staff and council members and residents.
Team.
Mhm.
Mhm.
A good communicator. Someone that isn't interested in building an empire because it'll help them help their resume for their next job. I'm looking for someone that can just manage things. Like Eric does a good job, just managing things, just making sure things get done. Competent. If we ask for information, they respond. And not question, well, you don't need that, or why do you need that?
Our organization does not have a lot of staff. We want to kind of keep it on the low. Having that, so it needs to take somebody that backs in. And does the thing rather than tries to figure out why they don't have somebody that want to. Don't do it.
That's a great point. They can't be a delegator. Or menial task. I mean, they have to do what has to be done, you know?
Mhm.
I would like to see somebody that's doing things or used to doing things. That aren't really tied and joined at the League of Minnesota Cities. And the Met Council, and everything else that we have. We're a unique city. We want to stay that way. But we do recognize that there are a lot of things that we have to deal with in the future. Design in place, so I think we need to make sure that we're we have somebody that's looking forward to that. And, you know, what's Credit River look like in 50 years? Let's not leave ourselves in a bad position. Or in a position that we back ourselves into a corner that we can't gain ourselves out of. And that has to be a proactive person. Who it does.
But to add on to that, it can't be a proactive person that's dictating and legislating what's needs to happen. More of a let's sit around the table and talk through it and let me understand why we would want to do something like that or we wouldn't versus this is where we're going. I always think of a leader from the, rather than sit at the head of the table, sit in the middle of the table.
Sure.
Diplomatic.
Well, I think what Abe just said too is important about bringing the why.
The why and
Bring the
education,
why.
being able to educate why we have to do these things.
Or why this is the right option.
And it has to be somebody that looks forward to involving the citizenry and educating them as well as to what our needs are.
Sure.
So that they can feel like they're part of the decision.
That's a really good point. Not a person that's just sitting behind the desk, but excited when someone shows up at the door.
Mhm.
Excited might be strong. Open and willing to converse, right?
Maybe somebody's here.
Yeah.
I'm not here.
Doris, I'm not here. Maybe whoever it is, I'm not here.
It shouldn't.
We did get a new snow shovel, so if they're here first, they could shovel it back.
And somebody who's excited when you get a new snow shovel.
Exactly.
Our planner is, they put his name on it.
It should be someone that's interested in conversations with the public instead of having to.
Negatives all the time. Yeah.
Right, what are gonna be some of those initial priorities? Walk in the door and they should be ready to jump into it, let's say day 2 on the job after they, just kind of get the lay of the land a little bit.
I don't think that's as important. Is able to sit down and start figuring out what their surroundings actually are.
Sure.
Ask why.
Yeah,
But
how they fit in rather than
mhm.
how is everybody gonna fit in with me?
Well, I think it's gonna take more than day 2 to get
Right.
used to who
Yeah.
everybody is and what their skills are, right? You know,
I don't think it's as important. In a time, fast time frame.
yeah, it doesn't need to be super fast, but and again, thinking about it, depending on the timing of this, whether or not we have a financial person in here at the same time, it's gonna take a different learning curve than if we do, right? Because if we don't, then that means this person's gonna have to, connect with Tessa and learn a lot about the finance piece of the organization a lot faster than if we've got somebody sitting in that office. Because they're gonna have to help guide that process till we have somebody.
And help with it a little bit.
100%. 100%.
Can we just clone Eric?
Be careful what you wish.
Careful what you want. One thing I think person is, getting to know you folks is an important piece. I mean,
Mhm.
I like to call you all a friend of mine. I can call you at home and if you need something, you respond and I do the same. So I think that's really important for that person to learn that in the first couple of months. And everybody wants a little things in a slightly different way or communicates in a different way. And if they're open and honest and you can find that, they'll learn the technical bits and pieces.
Yeah.
If they're just willing to listen and talk to y'all, and you don't have to agree, but you can have a court conversation.
You gotta know that you just can't send Leroy an email and think that he'll get it that in 5 minutes.
Call.
He's got the packet open.
He does. He was the first one that had it open too, right?
Just call, I'll respond, it'll get done.
I think knowing the history is really important, right? How have we gotten everything done that we've gotten
Mhm.
done? Understanding that you might be coming in with some different ways you've done it in the past, but maybe that's a different situation than we are here, or maybe it's an improved way, but maybe just hearing the past helps to identify if that's a good solution to even bring up or not.
Mhm. Right.
Somebody that understands that their office was a greater shot.
I think you can smell that when you come in, so hopefully it wouldn't take long. Love it. Mhm.
Hopefully we'll have a vision statement developed by in the first couple weeks of this person being hired. And I'd like to have that person then think of ways that how we can ensure that we're working towards that vision and the mission statement that we're going to be drafting. So, for example, knowing our ordinances, are there things we can put in our ordinances to help us get where we want to be from a vision perspective? Are there alternatives to bringing in sewer and water versus not bringing it in? Things like that. Those are just examples.
Mhm. We were kind of touching on projects and yeah, initiatives coming down the pipeline. So those 1 to 3 to 5 year, and that's a good piece of it is once we get our vision statement, let's take a look at our ordinances and how do we match the ordinances to the vision.
Mhm. There'll be a lot of work on the comp plan too, but that's not day two. That's
Right.
next couple of years.
Mhm.
But there'll be a lot of work for that.
That too.
Anybody else? 1, 3, 5 year?
I think our financial software needs to get done.
That's like 1 year, that's within that's like an immediate.
Yeah.
Well, I think to that point, Liza, I think one thing that probably would be good is, what is that one? I mean, I don't know that we have a real good strategic plan put together of, what are the things that the council would wish to see over the next several years. I sat down over the weekend and started writing some things out that I see as things that we need to cover, but we haven't covered this as a council yet, right? So, I mean, things like, capital improvement plans, making sure that we have the funding in place for our transportation maintenance and park maintenance and stormwaters and facilities equipment, stuff like that. Financial policies is one that we talked about moving forward with when we get a new finance person on board, but then it's going to involve the administrator too, because all those things roll into that. I think we've learned some things with some recent stuff on some planning and zoning things that, there's some places where some IUPs would be appropriate rather than conditional use permits, that we probably need to review some things in our code. Signs, trees, lighting, commercial versus residential areas is another one that we probably need to tackle. Cannabis is being to tackle. So, I've got, just a list of things that I think the council needs to consider into the new year. What are the things that we're gonna look for moving forward? So that things don't catch us off guard.
What happened to our wish list from 5 years ago that we never really
Well,
followed up on?
and you're right, Leroy, it's 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
So, there's, those are,
We talked about one last year.
we have, but
We have.
again, that's priorities that should always be, goals should always be a continuous discussion because they change.
Mhm.
You learn things over the years, right? I mean, we learned the commercial versus industrial versus residential, IUP versus CUP things. There's things we've learned over the last year that probably should be tackled.
Person should have a willingness to sit down and help us develop this.
Mhm.
So all you need to do is find half of a Mark O'Neill and half of this guy, and we'll be all set.
What tools does the next administrator either need to bring with them? Or do they need to ask for once they're in the chair in order to excel in this position?
Shovel.
Chainsaw.
No.
How old is your pickup truck?
Trailer hitch. Need a trailer hitch. Old trailer.
Commercial driver's license,
Oh.
Class D wastewater operator.
He did have a councilman put a trailer hitch on his minivan, didn't work so. Hell, that's freaking.
Yeah. He wasn't a council member, he was a town board member.
True.
Long before
True.
city. I think tools to bring with is, you know, connections and resources. To, you know, to kind of say, hey, you know, here's a unique situation, how have other people handled stuff, and what unique ideas can we bring to the table?
I think they need to have good people skills, better than better than mine. Eric is great at this. He's able to balance 5 different opinions and kind of like explain maybe other people's positions, whether you agree with them or not. It's beneficial. So they just need to work with us, you know, and I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, I
Good
like
people
that.
skills.
Balance.
Need to be smart too, with common sense.
Mhm. I think that's a really great point, being able to listen to all the differing opinions and
Yeah.
then finding a common ground that
Yeah.
all can hopefully get on board with. Okay. We're winding down. Yeah, anything else that you think is worth me mentioning about the organization or the community itself that maybe they can't find in their own research?
Well, in the applications that you received so far. Just looking at their application. You've seen. Seen people that will just describe.
Yeah, I'm excited. Mhm.
Well, I think we're all excited to start to see the names and the applications and the videos, and yeah.
Yes. So fast forwarding, then I give them approximately a week and a half. Let me look at the schedule here. I give the semifinalists about a week and a half to complete the items that I just talked to you about. I'm coming back here on January 6th for you to select your finalists. I know that's a busy time of the year, but I ask that you really carve out some time that week before the January 6th, because it takes a good, depending on how quickly you can get through the materials, 35 to 45 minutes. So depending on how many semifinalists I push forward, whether that's 8, 10, 12, that can really suck up a lot of time.
Can I stop you for just a second?
Yes.
When would we receive those? Would that be?
I like to send them a week ahead of time, so I think my calendar,
So 30th,
December
30th?
28th, yeah, 30th. Approximately then.
We're out of town or something?
No, I've just got a very busy
Yeah,
time. I just needed to figure out how to make it work. That's fine.
Yep.
well, you know what,
Okay.
New Year's Day.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's good.
Okay, good. Because then when I come here on January sixth, that's go time. So typically how I do that is I pass out a ballot to each of you and ask you to put your top 3 or 4 that you are interested in meeting face to face. Now, because the names and the information regarding these candidates is considered non-public private, we'll refer to the candidates by the assigned number that I give them. So for those sitting here listening, it'll be a fairly boring meeting because you'll hear candidates 3, 5, and 7, 2, 4, and 6, you know, so. Yeah.
January 6th.
Mhm.
Afternoon.
It's up to you guys.
It's actually, well, yeah, it's up to you folks, whatever you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had an appointment. The morning.
Okay, it's considered a public meeting, so whenever you all can meet and I kind of carve out my whole day for you.
So we have a council meeting that night,
Right.
so. I mean, I guess I would propose either before or after that,
Yeah,
so
I
that
agree.
we're not coming,
Sure.
for doing this workshop and then leaving and coming back.
Yeah, I'm available anytime after. On the 6th.
My calendar's open, you know that.
Even if it's a snow day?
Good.
I would say 5 o'clock.
Yeah. I'd be fine doing it 5 o'clock,
If an hour works, you know.
Mhm. Yep. Generally, it's about 35 minutes.
Yep.
When do we get to see the names though?
You are going to see the names. It's just our members of our public won't
Oh,
see the
okay.
names.
So if we want to do I do research. When we try and hire people, I do a ton of research. I search the court records. I search social media just to get any idea of the character of someone.
Sure.
So we will know names. So it's just the public that doesn't know.
Correct.
Okay.
And I do want to caution you, I understand your desire to do research. We do at the point of, so it just makes me nervous because, well, first of all, they're going to answer an information disclosure question. So hopefully that is where you're going to find out if there are any potential, clouds in their background.
Yeah.
And then throughout the backgrounding process, or once you identify the finalists that you're interested in meeting face to face, I ask the candidates then to sign acknowledgement and release forms, allowing me to do their backgrounding and to talk to their references. So,
Yeah,
Just-
I'm not talking about talking to anybody.
okay, wonderful.
It's just public information.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yep. Wonderful. And then also to know that if you do see something that comes up in their backgrounding or in your research, that's only one side of the story. So if there are questions or concerns regarding a candidate, I don't want you to necessarily rule somebody out for that. Let me do my backgrounding, share with me maybe some of your concerns, and then I can really kind of dig deeper into that to give you more of a well-rounded
Sure.
story at the time of your interview day.
Okay.
So yes, I'll hand out a ballot. They'll identify who they're interested in. We'll read the ballots out loud so everybody can follow along, and it'll really help us quickly identify who's everybody is most excited about. It's at that point then they'll determine how many they want to bring for face-to-face interviews on January 28th. It's also at that January 6th meeting that we'll talk about the interview schedule, what you want that January 28th date to look like. I know the last time we did interviews, we had a little bit of a city tour. We also had some type of public meet and greet where we invited members of your public to come and have coffee or a cookie with your candidates and then provide me with some written feedback so that after you conduct your final interviews, which is about 45 minutes individually with each finalist, then I will read verbatim the feedback that your public and your staff provide you. And then that's when you go into discussion and deliberation. And by the end of January 28th, that evening, you'll have a really good feel for who you think is the right fit for you.
I think we need to do a better job of getting this word out early and often about the public. How many people were at the public last time? Maybe half a dozen max.
This was 20
It's
or
a pretty good
50
turnout.
people there, yeah.
Okay.
There was
All right.
actually.
You came late.
Well, I always call. I think it's.
I
really
think you did,
important.
I think you did.
I did come
Yeah.
just straight to.
But there's a pretty good crowd for the cookies.
Yeah, I think we need to do somehow get. I'm going off of feedback, cause I remember you reading it off and there was very few comments. So I
Getting
think,
people there compared to getting them to write something down.
Yeah.
well, to make it very
Right,
important,
right.
then
It-
that we
it's-
say we were asking for your feedback and you can be a participant in this.
Don't get a cookie unless you.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
I really think it's important because I think that, I just trying to think back to that, it was not extremely helpful. The comments we got, because they were so.
Mhm.
Yes. And you also have to remember those that are attending that meet and greet don't have the information that you have, so their responses are really, I mean, they get, a couple minutes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's first impression.
Yep.
Yeah.
but oftentimes it can kind of confirm maybe a feeling that you're already having or.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean,
Or-
one of the key things we were saying is they have to be able to talk to public, so if we get a bunch of things back, and they don't seem warm, they didn't seem interested.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
Have you seen any applicants that applied last time?
Yes, yep. Mhm, mhm.
Could I offer one observation? As somebody who's been in those shoes of showing up and having those community. They're horrible.
I was just thinking of why you're thinking that too.
They're absolutely horrible. It's not that, I mean, everybody shows up there in good faith.
Mhm.
But you don't have. I've only been in a handful, I've never made 3. They're just. They're a struggle for everyone, not just the applicant, they're a struggle for you, they're a struggle for. Residents or people from the community to show up. I don't know certainly they have their methodology and, I'm not saying you should change it, but. Give those applicants, maybe just put yourself in their shoes, that's a tough room to walk into, it just is. And to your point, Abe, you want to see how they interact with people on the fly, but you're basically putting them in a on stage in a sense, and maybe that's a little different. Some administrators just don't want to be like that. And some just really thrive in it. So how do you cut through that information is take it for what it's worth, but it's never it's terrible. Sometimes if you do a round table where you have, maybe you just have some residents at whatever your process is, that set of tables and just do like a speed dating type thing, maybe we don't know what that means, I don't, right? But so I've heard. But I mean, there's some form, then there's a format to it. And maybe people can rely more on the format than just kind of wandering and small talking. I'm terrible at small talking, believe it or not. And but if it's I don't think about whatever.
I like that speed dating idea,
Yeah.
because I think the residents too,
What do they ask?
some of them will want to offer
Yeah.
some questions, but
Mhm.
if you get a group of individuals, maybe one person doesn't.
Or one council members at each table with a resident, battery, or you.
And
I don't want to
facilitate, yeah.
interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're not.
I
Nope.
just been through it a couple of times.
Can I ask a question? So this is something that you've seen, you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it obviously gets done. What expectations could we manage for? I mean, what should be, in your opinion, what should be the expectation? Our expectation for what we get out of the meeting, and what should be the residents or the invited people, those participants, what should be their expectation, and personally, the people that we have that we're bringing in, because you see all sides of it, so,
It's a
and
tough
what's the best way to do it?
I think if you can put some format around, would be a good opportunity for everybody to. And that way, everybody gets the same questions in a
Right.
sense, but gets to meet different people. I think that's the best, more balanced takeaway, because I think. Personalities you want to shine a little bit, but at the same time, it's kind of like putting people, like, some people don't want to come up and speak on camera, so they withdraw just a little bit. I don't know, I think it's just always a tough thing for candidates, especially if the other candidates are in the room too.
Mhm.
Sure. I mean, I don't know what the process might be. I don't know. I mean, I would not do it, but I think if you could set up a little bit of a framework, it makes it easier for everybody. Would be my 2 cents.
And when we did this 2 years ago, myself, I didn't have a clue what we're supposed to be really looking for, you know,
That's why I'm asking.
it was all new to all of us.
Right.
Can you ask, but if they have 3 questions, you ask each candidate, whatever those questions are. Are they easy going with the answer? Did they seem to have some understanding of what,
How do they present?
how they present themselves and, you know, if they look, I don't know the answer, just being honest and that's fair too. As opposed to what the answer is, but at least that way you can each, you can ask the same question to everyone.
You're talking about a public forum.
It's really kind of what it
Like
is,
an election public forum where you have candidates.
Oh.
go to people and ask them.
No.
kind of what it is. It's a meet and greet, but something maybe just one step more forward. Is a concept.
Mhm.
Some people love those type of things and they shine great and some, what do you want me to say?
So are you suggesting that we have just a slate of questions that are asked? But, you know, I thought that the purpose of this was to put the residents with them to ask their own questions.
Mhm.
Or should we try to gather questions from the residents beforehand? Or should we just try to encourage the residents to ask the same questions to each person? Might be, you know, maybe we should try to, what I'm trying to get to is we should probably try to format this a little bit. I don't want to limit residents from being able to ask any question really, because I think it's important for them, really, because one's paying for the person. But I think we were to put something out to at least encourage them to, you know, be consistent with the questions in their discussion, or, you know, as they're asking, so that it's kind of fair and broad throughout people that show up. Would that be something smarter to do?
Have like 4 questions and then they can ask away after that.
Yeah, and I don't think
they
it's
could
us to
be-
come up with.
So we all have the
questions.
same.
Right,
Well, if you're doing a speed dating type of round, you'd want different
then you could.
ones on each table,
Oh.
otherwise they're just going to the same
Right.
table and doing the
Gotcha.
same thing, and
Same
by the
thing.
5th one,
Right.
you've got that down pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think if we were gonna seed some questions, maybe we have a few, but we encourage them to ask their own, but ask the same ones to
I think we just
everyone,
encourage the
and then
residents to
give the
ask the same
feedback.
question. Each person.
Okay.
Know that it's up to us, questions. or anything else.
To be honest, I like them feeling uncomfortable. Yeah. I mean, this is uncomfortable sitting in front of everybody and having some of the discussions, so I think there's gotta be a level of acceptance that you're able to do that, and I get it, I would hate it too.
Yeah.
But this is kind of gonna be the role. You're gonna have some.
But one's a role of an interview selling type thing. I mean, you're assuming that you have a motivated applicant, which I assume you do, who wants the job. They're gonna be doing an element of salesmanship and how they present themselves, and that's fine. I think you get what I'm saying, so I think putting them in an uncomfortable position is good, but some don't do that well in that role, so just give them some deference or
give them some other place to hang their hat, where they're still gonna be part of the. I'm overstating, but you get, I'm just.
It's
saying-
just one component of
Right.
the whole
Right,
applicant,
yeah.
right? So they might not do very well there, but they're super strong everywhere else. Are we okay knowing that they're not very strong there? And if so, how do we put the guardrails around that? In my mind, it's just one more way to
One more
get a full
analysis,
view.
yeah.
Watch.
Well, it's just my percent, just what my experience with it. Some people
I
might
would
just love it.
I would hate it too.
You know,
Just
some
being
people,
honest, I wouldn't like it.
it's a thing. Whatever it means.
And I've done it both ways and I've done it like both in the same day too, where staff kind of does the speed dating round. We do it over lunch or coffee, and yes, you have the candidate get up and move. If there's 4 candidates, we have an hour, 15 minutes, right? And then in having more of a public meet and greet, if you're advertising it for an hour and 90 minutes, then your members of your public are floating in and out as it works into their schedule. And they get to choose how much time they get to spend with each candidate. Some just come simply to observe, and that would be more your role in that. You know, you want your public to really have that time. So they get to ask questions that you don't get to ask because yours are more scripted. But you get to have a chance still to get there and listen in on some of the answers to those questions. So it can be done, it can be modified, it can be a combo of the two. It's your day, so you get to choose how you want to.
Absolutely.
So. But we'll get into the weeds on that on January 6th. So this allows you some time to think about it and maybe talk about it at a future meeting if you have time to just kind of determine how you'd like to best see your candidates in action. So, okay, well, I will continue to provide weekly updates. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to me and I'll be there as soon as I possibly can. I think it took me a day to get back to you, so I apologize for that. It's, so, any more questions for me?
No.
Okay.
Think we're good.
Thank you for these notes and
Thank you.
be sure to share them with the candidates and all that good stuff. Thank you. I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah. We are too. All right, Abe,
Are we ready to adjourn?
ready to adjourn.
All right, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Abe. Thank you, Leroy. Motion and second to adjourn the work session. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, thank you.
I keep losing yet?
They're ahead.
Damn.
Although they just, they,
Just because you're close to Wisconsin.
Oh.
Here for the mayor.
Well, no, it could be the Louisiana Buckskins. I still.
If you were actually from Wisconsin.
Believe it or
you'd
not,
Understand.
Gonna survive.
Man.
Yeah, there's such a strange history though. That's the way I used to feel.
Okay.